A friend shared a podcast he listened to, where the speakers argued that AI is creating cognitive laziness and less critical thinking. The same criticisms were made when the internet, social media, and audio, abridged books first appeared. It's never just about the tool, it's always about who uses the tool. Yes, I understand, this tool is different. I suppose nobody truly knows at this point where it will take humanity. But here are some hard facts. 1. There have always been many non-critical thinkers. Science has already shown that it is an evolutionary adaptation for the human brain to prioritize generalization, quick conclusions, and belief in authority figures or popular opinion over hard, critical thinking. For instance, studies in cognitive psychology and neuroscience, like those by Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman, have detailed how System 1 thinking dominates much of human life, while deliberate critical thinking is costly and less frequently engaged. Research also points to our evolutionary bias toward cognitive efficiency. 2. Scientists and theorists have argued that, in many ways, the masses, or the general public, can be collectively irrational or stupid in certain contexts. For example, social theorists and psychologists such as Gustave Le Bon and more recent research in crowd psychology highlight mass collective behavior and its limitations. Given how often similar arguments have been made, unless a critique proposes feasible, grounded solutions, I'd categorize such podcast argument as an emotion venting piece, meaning it's intended for those who wish to criticize a perceived stupidity but aren't able to articulate a full argument. It's easy to critique, but hard to offer a helpful mission. I think one way for excellent critical thinkers, especially those who may not have truly novel, groundbreaking ideas, to create lasting, admirable value is to help those they deem cognitively lazy. However, doing so may require empathy, deep research into crowd psychology, history, public communication, and more. Returning to the podcast episode's argument on how AI is creating cognitive laziness and less critical thinking, which has essentially been a concern regardless of AI, it's worth reiterating that, yes, this time is different. AI is a massively powerful tool, evolving at an unimaginably exponential rate. But what if, purely as a hypothesis, humanity, having failed to cultivate critical thinking in the majority, could pivot toward cultivating more creativity? What if critical thinking, when inappropriately applied, generates shallow rebels who do not adhere to the moral or ethical fundamentals of society? And what if AI's plan, to borrow from science fiction, was simply for humans to invent it, so it could ultimately take over after observing the shortcomings and failures of humanity?
If this inspired you, subscribe to support my work and stay tuned for more reflection, think pieces, and nature content. See you in tomorrow's video.